Looks like our next stop is going to be another vacant rental property. According to the landlord, the maintenance personnel stopped by and reported that all the vent outlets were covered with tape and that the thermostat was blank. They replaced the batteries in the thermostat and removed all the tape, but they still could not get the heat to come on. So we'll drop by and see what we can find for them. Alrighty, first things first, we do have the light on, so we've got power, which oddly enough that can be an issue. It's an older thermostat for sure. Just looking at the fan selection, it is set to on, so if we have power to the unit, it should just be a direct trip here. The gentleman said he did change the batteries, so this guy must be yep. It's digital, but I don't know if you can make that out. But that is evidence of roaches being in there. They will get on these because they're warm. They'll crawl out from the hole behind them in the wall and sit on them in the wintertime. So that could be a problem, but because we have this thing in on, we know that it should just be a direct switch turning that blower on. We're not hearing anything, so more than likely we also don't have a light. But more than likely we don't have power to the unit. So let's see if we can find a breaker somewhere. All right, there's our breaker panel. Heating unit and AC unit, these are both off. So again, gross to touch, but want to check and see if we've got 24 volts, which we do not. We know the power's on, at least at the unit, so we've got something going on with the unit itself under the house. So now we go for an adventure. So now that we're down here, I don't know if you can hear that on the camera, but that does not sound good. Something's either ratcheting or shorting out. So let's take it apart and take a look. Just unplug the line of sight disconnect. Here. These guys out. Oh yeah. Oh, fun. Alright, there's a little bit better of a view, but it looks like something caught on fire in here. Probably we got a relay back there that's completely crisped up. It caught on fire, burned up all the low voltage and high voltage, mixed it all together. So in this case we've had 24 volts mixed with 240 volts, which obviously all of those relays, probably the heat strips and fan relay transformer is suspect, thermostat itself is suspect, outdoor unit, everything there on the low voltage circuit is now also suspect. To repair this, what we would likely end up doing is pulling that heat kit and seeing if we can get a replacement for that, and then essentially cutting loose everything in here and just rewiring all this. So knowing that there's going to be a lot of problems likely, we will offer the client a opportunity to either repair it, and essentially I'll just give them a guess about how long it would take me to rewire everything and get a cost on that heat strip kit. But the danger to that again is that all of these relays, everything is suspect at this point. So let's get out of here and give the client a call and see what they want to do. It's been a few days since we visited the apartment where the heat strips had burned up, or at least the relays on the heat strips had burned up and melted all the wiring. After looking for that set of heat strips, we were coming up blank, being that the unit was old enough. They apparently cannot cross-reference them or look them up. The owner of the property did not want to have me sit there and rewire that thing for a few hours and try to cobble something together, which I greatly appreciated. and instead wanted to just go ahead and replace it. In the meantime, the install crew has installed a side discharge Amana unit, one of their newer communicating systems, and they seem to be having some trouble getting it to communicate with the outdoor unit. So we'll stop by there and take a look and see what we can come up with. All right, let's take a look at this guy. Got the power off. Now these particular Goodman units, they want the outdoor unit to boot up for about 15 minutes is the instructions that I read on them previously. So we're going to energize the outdoor unit and let it sit for about 15 minutes. And at that point, we'll energize the air handler under the house. All right, we've got this thing powered up. We're going to give it a few minutes for the air handler to boot now and this thermostat to boot. And typically we'll see an error 11, which is a communication error that happens every time you install these side discharge units from Goodman/Amana. They essentially have to talk to each other and you have to run it through the system diagnostic. Otherwise, it will continuously give you that error. So we'll give it a few minutes to see if it'll boot up and give that a try. Okay, we have our error 11. Does not know whether it's an AC or a heat pump. So it tells us error 11. If we hold fan in mode for a few seconds, we'll come up to our installer menu. We cycle over to option number 20. Hopefully it's there. So we have option number 20, and that's basically our system test. So we hold the fan button for 2 to 3 seconds, and it'll go into on for system test. So we let this guy go through its boot up cycle. We'll check back in a few minutes. This can take up to, well, anywhere between 15 minutes and who knows, essentially. They depends on the outdoor ambient temperature on the sensors, the indoor ambient temperature, what its pressures and everything are. So we're just going to let it boot and we'll go from there. Same thing here. We're showing the error 11, and that is just the communications error until it finishes up its boot sequence and diagnostic. So once again, we'll just let him sit for a while. I can feel the compressor and we see the fan moving. I don't know if you can. We're going to let this run for a few minutes. Alrighty, we finished the system test, put it into heat, and it's raised the temperature a degree or two. I think we're good to go on this one. Alrighty, got that one taken care of. That one did worry me a little bit because I was kind of concerned that the landlords would want to try to repair that. And frankly, the amount of damage that was done to it, it would have been a little irresponsible to try to repair it. Sometimes you do get stuck in that situation though where they want you to try. But luckily this particular landlord saw the pictures in the video I showed them of it and just decided to swap it out. We put a 17.2 SEER Goodman side discharge communicating unit in, and that is one thing that our installers have had a little bit of an issue with, is trying to get them to operate. Something to keep in mind with those particular units. They do have to go through a system diagnostic in order for the system to know whether it's a heat pump, an air handler that's only running electrical heaters, or a straight AC. So you do have to run it through that system diagnostic. The part of that tends to catch a lot of technicians or installers rather, is you do have to let that outdoor unit boot up for a longish period of time and then allow the indoor air handler to boot up for a while before it'll actually even give you the option to go into that system diagnostic. And if you turn it on, run all around, look at it, it never gives you the option, because where we were cycling through to get to that option 20, it will not even appear if it has not had enough time to boot everything properly. So, 14 minutes in for having everything turned on, You'll cycle through there, and there at option 19, it just defaults back out to the main screen on the thermostat. You wait that 15 minutes, you'll go through there, and suddenly there's an option 20. You let it go through its system diagnostic for about 15 minutes, and all is well. But that's another one done for the day, and hopefully I'll be able to get home now.